recorder players, welcome back. Today we're going to start by warming up our recorder playing brains and our recorder playing fingers and our recorder playing mouths by playing Au clair de la lune, which is at the bottom of the second page of your packet. Go ahead and find it first. Okay, 1, 2, big breath, here we go. If you need to go back, please feel free to do that. Playing things we already know builds fluency, so a very good idea when you come to play first is to play some long, beautiful sounds, and then to play some things that you already know, just to kind of keep your brain in gear. Today I want to tell you a story to start out our recorder playing lesson. It is a weird story. It's a story from the gold rush. Now, in California, a very long time ago, they found gold, and a lot of people went off to California to see if they could strike it rich, and most people didn't. Well, I want to tell you the story, though, of one person who did. His name was Buffalo Boy, and Buffalo Boy was a prospector. He went out to go see if he could find gold, and nobody thought much of him. Well, first of all, Buffalo Boy was an odd duck. There's no way around it. He smelled terrible because he didn't take any baths. He took one bath a year on principle on the 15th of April and then never looked back. 15th of April. So by now, of course, doggy, he was starting to smell pretty ripe. And so every Tuesday he would come into town to get his groceries and things he needed. And then he would go back out of town to go to his campsite where he was looking for gold. Until one day, he found it. Not a little bit, a lot of it. So the people in the town were amazed. They saw Buffalo Boy, that guy struck it rich. Sure he had. Well, there was one particularly enterprising young lady in this town by the name of Miss Ellen. Miss Ellen was the proprietor of the local inn. It was an inn with a restaurant on it. And so people would come and eat lunch and dinner, whatever, but Miss Ellen was known over 4 counties for having the best pies anywhere. So when Buffalo Boy came into town on Tuesday, Miss Ellen made it a point to just happen to be outside, and she said to him, "Oh, Buffalo Boy!" And he said, he was not accustomed to being addressed in town very often, as, people tried to kind of like avoid him a little bit, wave at him from across the street maybe, but whew. And so he kind of looked around and she said, "Buffalo Boy!" And he was like, "Me?" And she said, "Yes, you. I don't know if you've ever come into my inn for lunch," she said. And he said, "Well, I don't know that I have ever." And she said, "Well, we've got a special today on apple pie." And he said, "Well, apple pie, that sounds mighty fine." And so he did. He came right in for lunch. And he sat over in the corner, Miss Ellen having strategically kind of steered him so as not to disturb her other patrons. She opened a little window and she brought him a delicious lunch, finished off by the best apple pie he'd ever had. The next week, he was kind of looking towards the inn, and don't you know, Miss Ellen made it a point to make sure she was right over by the door, and she saw him coming on up, and she said, "Oh, Buffalo Boy, you want to come on in? Today we got pumpkin pie." And he said, "Pumpkin pie? Hot diggity, I love pumpkin pie." And he was sitting down, and he said, "Pumpkin pie might be my second favorite pie." And she said, "Really? What's your first favorite pie?" And he said, "Well, that'll be peach pie." And she said, "Oh, I'll remember that." So he sat there, and as he was sitting there, he had a shirt, like an overshirt thing, with a button off, and Miss Ellen said, "Now, Buffalo Boy, I'm noticing that there's a button off your shirt, and I think I might have just the one. I could sew it right back on for you, and then you'd have a whole button that would work." And he said, "Now, that'd be mighty fine. Don't be anxious. It was an overshirt. He had other clothes on. It was modest. So he gave her his overshirt, and she took it and she washed it right quick, ironed it dry, sewed that button back on, brought it back out, and he was already smelling and looking a far sight better than he was. And as he was finishing up his peach pie, he was mighty content. Week after week this happened, and after a couple of weeks, Miss Ellen said to him as he was finishing up his pie, "Now, Buffalo Boy." "Yes," he said. "Do you know this is an inn?" "Well, yeah." "You know what an inn has?" she said. "Bathtubs." He's like, "A bath? Now, I ain't had a bath since April 15th. She said, "I know it was bath day then, but it could be bath day any day. Like every Tuesday it could be bath day." And he had never thought of something like that. Well, when he was in the bath, Miss Ellen very surreptitiously went in, took his clothes, washed them, dried them, ironed them dry, hung them back up, and by the time Buffalo Boy got out, people started going, "Whoa, there's a Buffalo Boy looking mighty dapper." Several weeks on, and this continued, and he was starting to get a little bit of attention from the people in the town, and he was feeling mighty fine about that. Well, Miss Ellen was growing thin on patience, and so one day she said to him, "Oh, Buffalo Boy," and he said, "Yes, Miss Ellen." And she said, "I have a question for you," and he said, "Yes, Miss Ellen." And she said, "Well, when are we going to get married, get married, get married? When are we going to get married, my dear old Buffalo Boy?" And Buffalo Boy was completely taken aback. That was not something that had even crossed his mind, and he thought, and he didn't know what to do, because you see, in those days, if a lady said to you, "We got to get married," you just said, "Yes, ma'am," and got married. And he said, "I think it'll be next Sunday, next Sunday, next Sunday. I think it'll be next Sunday. That is, if the weather be good." And she said, "Oh, next Sunday sounds splendid." She had a mind to get her very creative fingers on that little sack of gold, for example. And so she said, "Well," and then a horrible thought crossed her mind. She said, "A Buffalo Boy?" And he said, "Yes, Miss Ellen." And she said, "What you gonna wear to the wedding, to the wedding, to the wedding? What you gonna wear to the wedding, my dear old Buffalo Boy?" And he said, "Huh, I got her. I think I'll wear my blue jeans, my blue jeans, my blue jeans. I think I'll wear my blue jeans. That is, if the weather be good." And she had a little bit of a moment. I thought of herself, in the church, in a wedding dress next to a man in blue jeans. But she had a philosophy that I cannot espouse. She said, "Marry the man today, change his ways tomorrow." Terrible philosophy for life, but that's what she thought. And so she said, "I will change the subject." "Well, all right," she said. And he went, "Shucks." And she said, "Oh, well, what you gonna drive to the wedding, to the wedding, to the wedding? What you gonna drive to the wedding, my dear old Buffalo Boy?" And he said, "I got it. I got it. I think I'll drive my ox cart, my ox cart, my ox cart. I think I'll drive my ox cart. That is, if the weather be good." And she was a bit taken aback. An ox cart in her wedding dress next to a man in blue jeans. But marry the man today, change his ways tomorrow, she thought, which is a terrible philosophy for life, just in case you were wondering. She said, I shall make a gentle suggestion." And she said, "Oh, Buffalo Boy, well, why don't you drive your buggy, your buggy, your buggy? Why don't you drive your buggy, my dear old Buffalo Boy?" And he said, "My mule don't take to the buggy, to the buggy, to the buggy. My mule don't take to the buggy, not even if the weather be good." And she had a little bit of a moment, because the thought of herself in her wedding dress next to a man in blue jeans on an ox cart being pulled by a mule. I don't know if you know about mules, but they have a a deserved reputation for being the kind of animal that when pulling a cart, just sometimes stop in the middle of the road for no reason and refuse to go. She thought, I'm going to be the laughingstock. Never mind, it's only one day. I'll be fine, and I will have a considerable fortune to deal with, and I will be, there we go. And she consoled herself, and she said, I shall change the subject. Oh, well, all right. Who are you going to bring to the wedding, to the wedding, to the wedding? Who are you going to bring to the wedding, my dear old buffalo boy? And he panicked. He thought, I thought for sure that the blue jeans would get her, and then the ox cart, and then the mule, but no, I think I'll bring my children. I think I'll bring my children. That is, if the weather be good. And Miss Ellen was taken aback. She thought, I didn't know you had any children. I didn't know you had any children, my dear old buffalo boy. And she thought, well, it's not that children are a problem, but the fact that I've never seen them. I mean, he lives right outside of town, and I've never even seen the children. Oh, where are the children? And he said, oh, yes, I have 5 children. Oh, yes, I have 5 children, and 6 if the weather be good. And she thought, oh, he doesn't even know how many children he has. Where are the poor dears? Well, no child of mine is going to be raised by such a dilatory father. And she said, there isn't going to be any wedding. There isn't going to be any wedding, my dear old buffalo boy. And she chucked him out of her inn and out of her restaurant and drove him right out of town. And he thought, oh, bye. Well, on the one hand, he was a bit disappointed because he'd grown quite accustomed to nice treatment on a Tuesday. But on the other hand, well, marriage you want to consider before you just get married next Sunday. My friends, you'll notice that the song for Buffalo Boy is on the 3rd page of your packet there. And Buffalo Boy has only the notes we know, G, A, and B. We're going to play through it. You'll notice that it's quite a long song. That gives us an opportunity every time we practice it to try to do one thing. We're going to take a pencil and black out some of the letters. So we'll start with all of them in, and let's see if we can play it. Before we do, let's just sing through the letters first. 1, 2, ready, here we go. G, 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 A, B, 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 A, B, B, G, 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 A, B, 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 A, B, A, G. We're not actually going to sing through the whole thing just now, but we're going to do one verse at least. This would be a great activity to do on your own. So please go ahead and take a pencil or a pen or a marker and take it and color in one of the G's. So you see where it has that little baby G inside of it? We're going to color it right in. So now instead of seeing the letter G, we see a dot, which is kind of what we would see like down on hot cross buns, for example. Let's see if we can play it now with at least one of the G's covered. Go ahead and watch it. 1, 2, ready, here we go. Now this is a process to challenge yourself to complete. So we're going to do one more together, but then go ahead and try it yourself. It's a little bit tricky to do for the half notes, the ones that are empty, right, that get 2 steady beats. But the ones that just get 1 steady beat, pick another G or A or B, doesn't matter to me, pick one, and color in at least one more. I'm going to color in the A this time. And we'll go back and we'll play it one more time together, but keep practicing it by yourself until you can do the whole thing with no letters in any of the quarter notes, the tas, the ones that are colored in. 1, 2, ready, here we go. So what you can do is you can go back through as many times as it takes you until you don't have any letters in left. See if you can. And if you're having trouble, please send me an email and we'll set up a time so that I can help you get caught up. All right. Have a great day. God bless you.